I forgot to mention, it's very important for us when we start to see our XYZ, because most likely you never see those axes coming standard. The absolute axis system, it doesn't come in there. It just most of the time just we see the planes only. So that's what we see always, and it's kind of confusing because you know what each plane is, and you have to click on the plane to see what it does, and you can see on the screen ZY and whatever. And what we can do, instead of creating the axis ourselves, because you can create your axis on your own, you just click an axis system, and automatically by the default it jumps into the origin. But you can create your own axis, so you can click, you know, you get your X over here, and then you get your Y over here. Then you say you want it over here at this point. So you get your own axis, and you click OK. Now you see on the tree we got two axes. We got the original one, which is hidden, and also we got the new one that we just created right now. And it's very important that we get pretty familiar how to use the axis system, because once you're going to start working, creating toolpath and making programs, we're going to have different operation, working from the top, working from the side, working from the bottom. So we got to be able to create axis, new axis system. And this works the same thing like the folders. Remember, we go here and we define it in the work objects. Well, this works the same way. Right now, this is our main axis, and everything that we're going to create right now, it's going to work according to this axis. So right now, if you go right click, you go to axis system, and you put set as current or not current. So right now, if I want to make this the original one, set as current, just click here, and as you see right now, it's orange. You cannot see because it's in a no show. So if you do right click, bring it back, this is our main axis right now. So this is very important only when we create toolpath and programs. So if you're gonna go to the next step, which I'll be teaching also, I'll show how to make programs and how to create axis systems and programs and create new toolpaths. It's very important that you get pretty familiar with the axis. You can create as many as you want. So see, right now it's got a dotted line. That means this is not active. But if I do right click and I go all the way down to axis system object and I put set as current, now it became active. Okay, so I want to make sure that we get pretty familiar with this. So we can create our own axis, or instead of using those planes right here, we can put them on a no show. We can automatically have that axis start every time we start a new file. But in order to do that, we have to make sure we turn that option on, which is in the Tools, Options. And if you go to Infrastructure, Part Design, and you go to General or Part Documents, you see over here it says Create an Axis System. So if this is on, every time you create a new part, we always gonna have a new axis inserted to that new part. So most likely, if you don't have that option on, turned on, you're not gonna have this in here to begin with. You just have to put it yourself. So that's pretty much with the axis. So right now we don't need this axis right here. Let's make this as current, and let's delete the new axis that we just created. Or you can edit it. For example, if you don't like what you did, you just come here and then change your coordinate axis. And if you do a right click in here, you see you can have more options you can choose from. Create line, and you can create a line from this point to this point, and click OK. So that's going to become your axis. The reason we didn't see the line right now because it didn't like something about it. So we can put no selection, and you can create your line. The reason that we get that little error over here is because when I click on this point is the point of the axis. So we don't want to use this axis as a point. We got to use the geometry. So we have to turn this off and create our point. I mean a line. So right now I create my line from this point to this point, which belongs, it's linked to this surface. So now if you click OK, we shouldn't get the error anymore, that little icon over here. So right now I can select this line as a y-axis. So if I bring my surface back on, I turn it on again. Now I use this line with this line to create my axis. But if I don't like the X, you can click on axis again and you can reverse direction. So right now if you see here, I got X, Y, and Z. Or you can click reverse, reverse. So you can change them however you like. But this option we're going to be able to, we're going to use this only when we're going to start programming and making toolpaths only. Because right now, when we build the geometry, this is not that important for us. We don't need to worry about creating axis now. That's for later. So let's delete this axis because we don't need it. Okay. Let's hide this over here. And let's go to the next step. Our next option we have over here is called the reflect line. We did combine, project. So now let's go to reflect line. I put everything on I just turn off this level, and I'm gonna come to sub 3. I'm gonna make as a define my properties and change it to reflect line. We're gonna create a surface. So let's get ourselves a little sketch in here. And I'm going to create a fill surface. I'm just going to highlight this sketch. So we've got a surface over here. Let's change the color. I'm going to create a bump surface. But I first of all have to create my shape in here. So let's create another spline. Inside this sketch, let's exit. We got our spline in there, and we need a point and a line. So let's create another sketch over here. Let's put a point. I'm going to create a point in here. And this point we can translate it. Click on the translate. It's going to ask us for the direction. So let's say I want to move it up and down, which is on the z-axis. So I can move it up. Okay. We can double click again on the point and change the dimension anytime we want to. And we can translate this point again. We can put, instead of on the direction, instead of clicking on the z-axis, we can click on the surface and automatically knows the direction because it's a plane. Okay, so let's make that 2 inches. Now let's create a line. Now what I'm doing, I'm creating a line and points in a 3D view. They're not in a sketch. So see, if you see the line, if you click on it, you can tell right here they're just a line. It's not built in a sketch. We can do the same thing. This line, we can do it in a sketch. What I can do, I can just take this plane, offset it all the way over here, and open a sketch and just make a. As a matter of fact, let me do that pretty quick. So I'm going to click on the ZX plane, and I'm going to click offset. So I'm gonna bring it, I want to bring my plane right here. Click OK. I can click on the plane, click sketch, and I can get my line. So right now, see, we can do it or 3D on a 3D, or you can do it on a 2D sketch. So either one, it's totally up to you. Whatever you think it's easier. But the reason I did some 3D construction geometry, just to make sure to get you used to it. So you can create points on 3D view, you can create lines, axes, you can create circles, splines. So all these options we can create on a 3D view. We don't have as many options like on a sketcher. See, the moment you open a sketcher, you can tell how many options you have to create your geometry. But we don't have that many options and icons to create our geometry in a 3D view. So it's always better to use the sketcher to create your stuff. But when you do quick and dirty constructions, sometimes I use the 3D constructions. So you'll get used to it. When it comes to it, you'll choose whatever it's easier. So right now I don't need this. I'm just gonna turn it off. I'm gonna turn off the whole sketch basically because I don't need it. So now let's create a little bump. Let's click on the bump option. If you don't have it, you can turn it on from your workbench. Okay, so let's go. I was gonna ask our surface to deform. This is our surface. Limit curve. We're gonna click on just on the spline that I just did. Deform center. We're gonna click on this point right here. Deformation distance. Let's try 2 inches for now. So we got a little bump in there. We can go. We always can go more options to this. To this right here, to this bump. So let's go to, let's see, click on this. Let's change the color. Okay. Let's change the color to this. Can turn it off. Turn it back on. So this is our bump right here. Anytime we can edit it if you want to. We just double click on it. And we always can change this. Can make it higher or lower. And we can go negative over here if we want to, just to make it a little fancy. The tip over here is going to go negative. Okay, so let's click OK. Now let's go back to our reflect line. Okay, if you don't see it, it's in the projection. So if you try to look for the reflect line, make sure you go on the projection icon, click on this look down arrow, reflect line. Okay, it's going to ask us for the support. Our support is the bump. Something doesn't look right, but we'll give it a try. Okay, the direction is this right here, and let's start playing with it. Let's give it 20 degrees. So as you see right now, how we create our how we reflect the line. It's totally up to you, whatever is comfortable. So I went too much on the angle, so I gotta go up. So you reflect your line wherever it's comfortable, and it doesn't have to be a perpendicular line. Right now my line, this line right here, the direction is totally perpendicular to this, but you can change that. So if you click OK now, see, it asks us right here, we have a multi-result management because we have one contour on the bottom and one contour on the top. So we have two entities. So it's asking what you want to do. You want to click which one you want to keep. You want to keep both of them, or you want to keep the one that's near to your cursor. So on this case, I'm going to click keep all elements. So now we're going to have this and this, two of them. So that's our reflect line right there. I just change the color to black so you can see it better. I'm going to turn this off. So that's a one reflect line. So for example, right now, instead of using this, we can use a different angle. Let's create a sketch on this plane. Let's create another line. So we got a different line out of the sketch. It's not in the middle. And let's use the reflect line again. Let's click on our bump for the support. This is our direction. And let's watch this now. See, we got a different projection reflecting on the line. So that line is reflected to the surface on this direction. Okay, so you just play with it, and whatever you need, you get out of it. So see, the more you go, now it's going to give us an error. Once we get here, we're going to get an error because we went too much. Okay, so this is the reflect line option. And also we can reflect the line as a cylindrical or conical. So we got two options to choose from, but now we have to tell it where is our origin. So click over origin, it's over here instead of a line. And let's give it a try. Let's change the angle over here. Let's go a little higher. So now it's not cylindrical anymore, it's conical. So the reflection right now is conical. So you see we get a different shape. So you just play with it, and whatever you get out of it, you know, that's whatever you decide. Let's click OK. Keep both elements, and this is our reflected line. Let's go to next, which is intersection. Next icon is intersection. So let's turn this off. Let's put it in our no show. Wow, we got quite a bit of garbage in here. Okay, let's come down here. Let's go to properties, and this is called intersection, right? Okay. So let's go right click on the properties. Let's type intersection. Let's make this the default, because right now if we try to create a sketch, we try to build a sketch, for example, and we're gonna try to make a rectangular, we don't see it, right? We try to create a profile and we can see it. It's like, yeah, what's going on? The reason we can't see it because this is the default and it's already tuned off. So right now everything that we're building, it goes onto this folder and no show level. So if I go to swap visible space, there we go. This is all what I'm creating right now. So I'm basically, because this is turned off, that's why everything that I'm working right now, it goes into this level. So what I can do right now, make sure I get out of this sketch, and do a right click here, make this defined, and let's create a quick spline on the XYZ. Let's start from here. And let's go to extrude. This is a little bit too high. Let's bring it down a little bit. Let's create another sketch perpendicular to this. So let's go on the ZY plane. Let's make another sketch. Let's get out of here. Let's create another extrude. Let's turn off the sketches. Let's change the color over here, make it a little bit nicer, be able to understand what we're working on. And we got two surfaces right now. Before we're gonna go any further, let's create a solid, a pad into XY plane. So let's go to our part design, or we can go to start part design, either one. And let's click on the pad. Oh, because it's not as our default, so let's cancel this. And let's make sure we make this our default. And right now, if you click on the pad again, we don't get the error anymore. Because we don't have a sketch, we can go straight in here, and we can build our pad straight over here. We can create, let's create an ellipse. Let's double click a little bit, change those dimensions. Double click again, click OK. So we got our little pad over there. Let's go both directions. So let's go 1 inch here, 1 inch here, sorry, 1 inch. So I was going through the surface. So I wanted to show you we can work with the surface and the solids at the same time. So let's go back to our shape design. We can go part shape design. We can go start shape design or part design, either one. See our icons, they keep on changing. So let's give it a try. Going back to our intersection. Let's ask him for the first element. So this is our first element, second element. And if you do a preview, we can see our curve that's going across is going across. Okay. So let's give it another try. We can go to same thing again. Element 1, element 2, preview, and if you put extrapolate intersection of first element, you see how it's going all the way through the part. It's going to the first intersection. So that's a pretty nifty feature. Okay, so we can take this one off, preview. So it's going all the way down here, or if you want to go through the part, it's going all the way up. Okay. So that's one of the options that we can choose. Now let's go to some intersection icon again. Let's click on this surface with this pad. Now as you see, we got more options over here. We can get a contour out of it or a surface. So if I click on the contour and I click preview, we're going to get the contour intersection of this solid with the surface. Okay, so let's go preview. So just like I said, there's our curve. Or if you click surface, it's going to give us a surface. We're not able to see it right now because it's right here. Oh, hold on, I made a mistake. So this is the difference. We forgot to make sure to make this our define work object again, because right now our projection thing, it's in here. So that's why I'm not able to see it. And we cannot move it anymore. But what we can do is just make this a define again. And let's make sure that our geometry gets built up in on our construction folders. So that's the trick. We have to make sure that we got to keep an eye on this thing. Every time we switch back and forth, let's keep it organized. It doesn't matter. We still have it. It's still in here. But we get more access to it if we have it organized on our folders. So let's try it again. Even though I have it over here, I cannot move it. I was looking for that option. You cannot move it because it's a part design. You can move only things, say change geometrical set, you can move it within itself right here, but you cannot move it if you have a part design. So if I want to grab, for example, this surface over here, and I want to move it onto a reflect line, automatically it's going to disappear off the screen because this is turned off. So let's go to reflect line over here, click OK. It disappears off the screen because this is turned off. So let's Control Z, undo it. I just wanted to show you that option. So let's go back to our intersection. Let's click on this surface. With this solid, we can get a contour, like I just mentioned earlier, which is this right here. We can play with it, or we can go back here, click on the pad, and click on the surface preview. So right now, if I turn off my solid and I turn off the extrude, this is our projection. Okay, so surface is here and curve it's over here. Okay, so just so you know, you can turn off things and turn it back on. See, if you have this on, you don't know what's going on. So if I turn it off and I have everything organized, I can play with things around. And if I want to have this intersection alone on a folder, no problem. We can create a geometrical set, put it on in the main folder, and we can grab this, do a right click, change it to geometrical set number 6, click OK. And now if I turn off everything, the only thing I'm going to have on the screen, it's only the projection surface. So it's very very important that we learn how to create those geometrical sets and put them folders and subfolders, because it's it'll be very easy to work with, because once you're going to build so many things and the assembly gets bigger and bigger, we're going to have so many surfaces and so many things on the screen. It's going to be a mess. But if we're going to keep everything organized, rename everything right, we're going to make our job easy. Because if you look at my no show over here, look how much garbage I have in here. But if everything is named right, I can turn it back and off anytime I want it without any headaches. See, right now I turn it on, but because the main folder is turned off, I am not able to see it. So if I turn this on, there is my stuff in there. So I can turn it off and turn it on. So you'll get used to it. It's not a big deal. So we don't need this anymore. We can delete this. And let me show you one more option about this intersection. It's not necessarily that you have to have surfaces or solids to intersect things around. You can have even geometry and intersect them around. Okay, so let me show you one more thing. Let's make sure we make this our define and work object. Make sure that all of our geometry is going to go into this folder. So let's go back into the sketch onto the Y and Z plane. I'm going to create a line. Oh, actually, I'm going to show you this option. Let's create two lines in here, because I want to intersect those on a 3D view and get my point in here. Well, those are two lines, but they're linked together. So if I try to use the intersection, watch, it's not going to work. It's going to try to highlight both of them as a one element. So we need to split those two apart. Okay, so this is my sketch right here. We have two elements into one sketch. They're linked together, so we cannot trim it. What we can do, it's a pretty cool option over here. You go into the join, open this up, and you see disassemble in here. Just click on this guy, and you see over here you have you can break it everything by cells or by domains only. So in our case it doesn't matter because we have only two on each one individually. So whenever you feel comfortable, whatever you got on the screen, whatever you need to break, just choose whatever is comfortable. So let's go domain only for this time, and watch what happen. Look on the tree, we got curve number 1, curve number 2, and the sketch. So we don't need the sketch anymore, we can turn this off. And now we can go back to our intersection. So select curve number 1, and now we can click on number 2. So you see the difference? We split them. Now I can we can give ourselves some it says there is no solution to this. There we go. So you see our point right there? That's a 3D point. So we did this in a 3D using the intersection definition. We could have gotten this point very nice and easy into the sketch mode, but I thought I'd show you this option because it's good to know what we can do. Okay, so you can try it out and see how that works. So this option, it's pretty easy, but it took a little longer because it's got more options to it. Okay, I hope you're not gonna hate me, but probably by now you already got sick of my voice and my my accent. I know it's pretty bad there, but I hope we can go through this to the end. We still have quite a bit to go.